How's it going today, guys? Today, I got an exciting video coming up for you guys. We're finally going to be reviewing my Simrad Autopilot after having it for about 5 to 6 years now. It's been a while. I know all the tricks on it, all the features that, any or almost any marine supply place you walk into that can sell you the Simrad Autopilot, they're not going to know these features, they're not going to know these secrets, and I'm going to condense it down, stuff that took some time to learn, you could even say years perhaps. I'm going to condense all that down into a nice short video for you guys, and that way you guys can learn it all, and when you get your Autopilot you can take full advantage of it. And with that being said, we're first going to talk about my experience. We're going to go over to the Autopilot on my screens, show you some of the features out of it at the dock so that way you can learn those features real quick. Then we're going to come back here, go over some common questions that people have about the Autopilot, some of the basics, and some of them might seem obvious, but just the reassurance from somebody having an Autopilot and having a lot of experience with it will really help you guys to understand how it works, and some of the basics of choosing an Autopilot for you guys, because it can be a little complicated. These things are pretty sophisticated. There's a lot of things that go into choosing the right Autopilot and stuff like that, and I'm going to set you up in the right direction to get you to know what you need to know to buy the Autopilot, like what exactly you need to know walking into buying one, and just everything you need to know to buy it. That way you guys can make sure you guys are acquiring the right Autopilot. So that being said, let's get started. So as we start this video, I just want to remind you guys, don't forget to smash the like button on this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss a future video. Also, I have, for your convenience, a Simrad dealer link down below in the description that will also be able to help you determine what is the right Autopilot for your boat. Check them out. Link is down below in the description. So that being said, let's talk about my experience. So I've had this Autopilot for about 5 or 6 years now, and it's been great. It's probably one of my favorite accessories on the boat. I absolutely love it how I can just put go to on a spot and it'll navigate me there. I can adjust the speed how I want, and it just takes me there on point. I'm not having to worry about, just like sitting there and like bumping the wheel back and forth. I can sit back, relax, be aware of my surroundings, so that way if I see something coming up, I can adjust my course or whatever and make sure I don't hit that. I can just sit back, relax, I can cruise, I can do something else on the boat while the boat steers. It's just really great. I really loved having the Autopilot. It saves fuel because it keeps you right on point. It doesn't take you off, like it's not taking you off 100 feet from the line. It's straight. It keeps you right on that line that has to the spot. And the quickest way to a certain spot is a straight line, and you're not going to get there any quicker than you would on a straight line. That's exactly what the Autopilot does. And so you don't veer off of it and it keeps you right on it. You're actually saving a little bit of fuel. Now, the fuel that you would save is very minimal compared to the cost of the Autopilot. You could argue perhaps that over time you might be able to break even on that, but it's not really something to gamble on. I would really just say, if you're buying the Autopilot, buy it for the convenience and how it enhances your experience on the boat and how it just makes it a better experience overall, because you're not having to sit and steer all day. You can put go to, sit back, relax, and whatever. And it's great. I don't have issues with it if it's rough, if it's calm, if it's windy, if there's a lot of current. It adjusts for all of that, and it's absolutely great. I can go out on a day where it's blowing 20 and it's 4, 5, 6 foot. I can run 20 miles an hour and it's going to just keep me right there on that line. I'm not having to worry about, okay, is my Autopilot doing its job? Because I can see it. It's perfectly straight. And it's just hands-free, worry-free. I really love it. As far as having issues with the Autopilots, they're pretty good about not having issues. Obviously, I've had mine for about 5 or 6 years, so that's a great life expectancy on an Autopilot. And from what I hear is that Autopilots never really go bad. Normally, it's something small on it. I had an issue one time where I had to update the software in my Autopilot, and then once I did that software update, the issue was corrected, and I haven't had any issues since. That was a couple years ago, and that's pretty much it as far as having issues. Where you would have issues is possibly in the pump, If your autopilot is hydraulic, you might have issues in the computer or stuff like that. But those are very rare and not too common. But it's always good to make sure that you have warranty on your product, or you also have the option of getting Simrad's extended warranty by buying it through an authorized dealer like the one I have down below. So my experience with the Autopilot is 10 out of 10. Absolutely love it. Probably the best investment on the boat. And it's just a phenomenal feature, how you can just sit back, relax, and talk and focus on conversations with the others while also being vigilant of your surroundings, but not having to worry about constantly adjusting your boat to keep you on course. And it also saves time, which is the biggest part for me. When I get to go fishing, it's not like I get to go fishing every day. I need to make all my time on the water count. The sooner I get to the spot, the sooner I can start fishing. And just the fact that I might be able to save a few extra minutes in my day, over time that compounds. But if you're running quite a long distance and you're making long distance and you have to keep on course and stuff like that, you might save maybe 10 or 15 minutes, especially when you're running like me 50 miles to get to your spot. So 15 minutes, I could catch a few fish in 15 minutes, that's for sure. I could figure out my drift in 15 minutes on my spot. So it saves me a lot of time, and that's really the biggest bonus, is it saves me my time and I can enjoy my experience on the water a lot more. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check out the screens. Let me show you guys some cool features on that. And with that being said, let's go check it out. Guys, we're here at my screen. I'm going to show you some of the cool features right now with the Simrad Autopilot. So that being said, let's first look at like navigation. So if you click on your Autopilot on your screen with the controller, it's so much easier, guys. But you can see that there's different Autopilot modes. So we have heading hold, no drift, which is almost the same as a navigation mode, or heading hold, and then there's follow-up. So the first one we're going to go over is the most popular one, which is navigation. So we're going to select this spot right here. It's another dock. Same principle applies for if you're looking at a spot 5 miles away, 10 miles away, 50 miles away, or whatever. You would select the spot, go to, it's going to say, do you want to engage Autopilot nav mode? We're going to select yes. Once we select that, it's going to ask and confirm the turn, just so you can make sure you're ready and that it's not going to put you in danger. So when you're ready, just press confirm. As you can probably hear, you can hear my pump turning my engine steering to put me in that direction. So you see it adjusted my steering. So let's say we were driving and there's another boat in the way and we have to move around it, or an object in the water, something like that. Simply press standby, takes you out of that autopilot mode, and you can steer around it. And now let's say what happened was that I got off course and I'm no longer on a straight line and I'm actually like out here. Well, no big deal, because you can press engage, confirm the turn, and it'll put you back on that course. And then I would just recommend pressing restart and it'll reset it to that point. So let's go ahead and take it out of standby. Let's cancel this so I can show you some of the other part. Simply click on the chart page, go to your menu, navigation, cancel that destination, and bada boom, bada bing, we're back to normal. So now let's go over some of the other features. So follow up, that's really if you wanted to steer the boat. A lot of bigger boats will use this feature. Instead of turning the wheel, they will use the follow-up mode and adjust it by a few degrees. I don't really use it. Smaller boats like mine and center consoles, there's really no need to really use the follow-up mode. It's not really that popular. So we're just going to close out of this, go back to Autopilot, and select a different one. So we're going to press standby, and there we go. So now we're going to go with one of my most used modes after navigation, which is heading hold. So heading hold is holding my heading, so you can see that it's just adjusted to my heading. I can adjust my heading by 1 degree, port or starboard, or by 10 degrees at a time. And sometimes if I'm trolling over like a certain area that I want to keep on, I might steer my boat with that, because it'll keep my heading and it'll adjust it by like 10 degrees, 1 degree, or I can adjust it by 20 degrees in a matter of seconds. And that's just something that I really love about this Autopilot feature, heading hold, is that I can really steer my boat with this. So that's great. Anyways, I'm going to take it out of Autopilot. I'm going to take it out of there, and we're going to go to the features. So another thing I meant to show you in this mode is if you go back to heading hold, now you have options to all your turns. There's your turns. As you can see, this is the list of turns. You can make a U-turn, you can make a C-turn, you can make a spiral, you can make a zigzag, square, S-turns, and depth. Depth is like where it tries to keep you on like a certain depth line, and you can like tell it like to go this way to get to a certain depth, but it's not really something too popular that a lot of people use, but you could utilize that feature. I haven't really personally got to use it just because, you know, I haven't really had any use for it. Anyways, you can make a U-turn, you can make all these different turns. The rest of them are pretty self-explanatory. I'll just go to show you. So like, example, let's say you wanted to zigzag over a spot. Like, you know, for a trolling pattern, you can use like an S. I commonly use that. But this is an S turn. As you can see, it says S turn. And what this is showing you is that each curve, like this curve here, that's going to make is going to be 40 degrees. And we can adjust that each turn per leg by however much we want, 180 degrees down to 5 degrees. So we're just going to put it back at 40, just because that's the default on it. And it adjusts by, as you can see, a different number of degrees, but then you can also use a slider to determine how you want it. So 40 degrees. And then this is the distance of each curve. So radius of your turn, obviously, as you may have remembered from high school geometry, radius is half the width of a circle. So that's the radius of your turn. And you can adjust it all the way up to 1,640 feet down to 82 feet. So let's just put, I don't know, we can leave it anywhere. I would adjust this if I was trolling. But anyways, you can see that that is how you adjust like the distance on each curve and each turn. So it's super simple. As you can see, it's really just simple use. This is another one that a lot of people like, is this spiral one. So example, let's say you pull up to a spot or like a wreck or something, and you're trying to find that reef, and you want to run your side scan and, you know, run your autopilot at the same time. It's a really great feature because you can have your side scan sit out, let's say, to look 60 feet off to one side. So you can adjust it to where to overlay some of that last read onto your screen, so you can really see what's around in that spot when you go to it. So this is the this is like how far like each circle expands. So right now it's for 2 feet, 2 foot radius per loop, and we can put it all the way out to 320. But if we were just say like looking for structure, we could like put it at 60 or 61 or whatever. You could put it like that. That way it's getting some of your last turn, and it'll take you around. So this is the initial radius of the turn, and you know, you can really just adjust it by how much you want, all the way up to 3,281 feet, all the way down to 82 feet. So these are things just you have to play with, and it depends where you are, how deep you are, that's going to affect you doing this. That's just some of the features that, you know, you can use for fishing and all that. So let's go ahead, go back, take it out of this autopilot mode. So now let's go switch out a heading hold, and I'm just going to talk briefly about no drift. So basically no drift, it's what it sounds like, quite literally, no drift. It keeps you on a bearing, kind of like heading hold, but no drift. I never have issues with being off course on heading hold or anything like that. I'm just going to put it in standby for right now. Anyways, it basically stops you from drifting. It keeps you right on that point. It's really used for places in high current, like, you know, a river, or, you know, somewhere where the current is really ripping. It's a feature. I've never really used it. It's not the most popular feature, but it's another feature. Basically, no drift is what it sounds like. It's no drift. So you can engage it and adjust it by so many degrees. I'm going to put it back in standby. Also, another thing I wanted to note that you guys may have noticed is it says low speed right here. That's because the boat is at the dock currently. Once you get to about, you know, 15, 20 knots, it'll kick over into a different speed, which I believe on it says high speed. And that is just the computer making different calculations to keep you on course and, you know, keep everything perfectly in line, keep you on the course, everything. It's just the computer making different calculations. It's like a different setting in it almost. And it's just part of the reason why you need to make sure you get an autopilot that fits. That way you can make sure the computer and the pump are working together and able to keep you on course, so that way you have no issues with your autopilot. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go over some common questions people have about the autopilot and talk about the basics of, you know, making sure you order the right autopilot and what to look for. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about that now, guys. So with that being said, let's go check it out. All right, guys, so we're back here now. We just looked at some of the cool features on the screen, and as you can see, this autopilot is absolutely worth it. The features on it are just insane, and it's just crazy how cool this thing is. It's like almost something from the future, but we have it now, which is great. So now let's go over some common questions. So one of the most popular questions that I get and I've heard other people ask is, how do I control the speed of my autopilot? Like, I don't want my boat to just dictate what speed I'm going to go to my spot, because what if that's a no wake zone that I might be in and I'm using heading hold, or what if like the sea conditions just don't allow me to go top speed, or if I don't want to go too slow? How do I dictate my speed, my throttle, and all that? Well, it's actually super simple. So basically, you set your autopilot to the spot you want and you adjust the throttle. So let's say you want to run at, let's say, 4,000 RPMs. You can adjust your throttles to 4,000 RPMs and it'll keep you going at 4,000 RPMs. So whatever that speed that might be. So you might be running 20, 30 knots. You might be running 50 or 60 knots, depending on what boat and what engines you have. So once you set it at that speed, that's the speed it's gonna run at. It's gonna operate at that speed. And if you want to slow it down, you just slow your throttles down and it'll slow you down. You can slow it down to a minimum and it'll keep you on that course, no issues. Same thing for speeding up. You can put it heading hold, or navigate to a spot. You could be going like 2 or 3 knots from a troll, pick up your trolling speed, go to your next spot, bump it up to 3,500, 4,000 RPMs, or whatever it is that you want to bump it up to. Just bump it up. It keeps you on course. It keeps you on that course. And that's it. It's super simple to control the speed. You dictate the speed. Another popular question is, how do I control it? So unfortunately on my dash, I didn't have space for the AP44 controller. You can buy, like for most hydraulic autopilots, there's a kit and it already includes the AP44 controller. It's like a $600 or $700 controller, something around there. And if you don't want it, I would always say recommend buying the kit, because the difference between buying it with or without the kit is a couple $100, and you could easily sell it and get those couple $100 back. But I do have to say, if I could control it from the controller, I really wish I could, because it just makes it so much easier to access those other features that I just showed you guys. And it's another little digital display that you can just strictly use to control your autopilot. The screen is not too hard, but you saw it's just that little slither and it takes up space on your screen. So that's the downside of controlling it on your screen. But you can do it on both with the controller. So whichever floats your boat. That's really how you control it. Another popular one is which one. So this is where it's really complicated, is determining which autopilot is right for you. It depends on your steering. The first thing that you need to do is look at what make and model boat is mine. So is it a big boat? Is it a little boat? And then you need to see, what type of steering system do you have? Is it hydraulic? Is it mechanical? Is it steer by wire? What is your engine's make and model? Like, for example, if you have a hydraulic steering system and you have Mercury Verado engines, you need the Verado fittings kit to go along with your autopilot, so they work with the fittings, because the standard fittings on this autopilot are C-Star fittings, and C-Star is commonly with Yamaha and stuff like that. But always check, make sure the guys down below in the description would love to help you out. You need to know your weight and your width of your autopilot, of your boat, excuse me. And that's basically because, the autopilot pump is turning your steering, and the autopilot computer is making calculations based on different things that it sees that are affecting it. It might be the speed of your boat, the way your boat steers and stuff like that. It's a computer, really. And it is a computer, actually. And that is going to be crucial, depending on what size boat you have, that you have the right computer so it can make those right adjustments. Especially when you're going at higher speeds on larger vessels, you need to make sure that you're getting the right computer for your boat. Especially when it's right there around that 28 to 32 foot range. Those boats right there, you can really go either one, and you got to make sure you're getting it right. It never hurts to get the bigger pump or the next size up computer. It's always great to have bigger than what you need, because that'll ensure that on days that it's rougher or whatever, or you're running at a high speed, it'll keep you on course and you won't have any issues with the autopilot. And you definitely don't want to be having issues with the autopilot. That's why you need to make sure you're getting everything correct. So just to recap, you need to figure out where your steering system is, your engine make and model, width of your vessel, and the weight and all that. So if you send all this stuff down to the guys I have linked down below in the description, they'll help you find it out. There's also a tool from Simrad that will help you determine which is the right autopilot. Another thing I forgot to mention is, if you have a hydraulic steering pump, you need to figure out what size steering pump it is, so that way you can match up to the right size pump for the autopilot. So figure out what size steering pump you have if you have hydraulic steering. That way they can determine what is the right pump for you. And just make sure you have everything correct when you do this, because it is very technical. It can get kind of complicated, and I just want to make sure you guys are going to be able to enjoy the Autopilot to the fullest as soon as you get out of the box and install it in your boat. So just one last time, how you can confirm it's the right Autopilot is, one, checking on the Simrad Autopilot checker. I don't think that's what it's actually called. I'll have that link down below in the description as well. Check with the guys that you're going to be buying it from, which I have linked down below in the description as well. They're a Simrad dealer, and you know, if you just send them everything, just go down to their contact us, say, hey, I have this, this, and that. I think I need this Autopilot. Can you confirm this and tell me if there's anything else I need? You know, what I would actually recommend doing is going on that Simrad Autopilot finder, go down there, fill out all that. It'll tell you what you need. Take a screenshot of that and send it to them, because that page can actually be a little bit complicated just looking at it at first glance. So send that to them and they'll be able to tell you what you need, and if there's any accessories that you might want to add or whatever, and they'll make sure that they put you in the right they'll make sure that sell you the right Autopilot so you can have the most optimal experience on your boat. So just once again, you need to know make and model on the Simrad Autopilot. It doesn't really matter, it's just more about length and weight of the vessel, depending on what type of steering system you have and all that. But just in general, make and model, width of the boat, steering pump or size or what type of steering you have, and your engine make and model. And the reason I say is the make and model of your boat is because when you go to contact those guys I have linked down below in the description, they're going to be able to, you know, they might have done a boat that might have been built the same years as yours, or has all the same fittings, and had a guy that's already bought it, that Autopilot for that boat, and know it works great, and they can say, hey, we know 100% for sure you need this. And you know, that's the benefit of going through them, is that they've sold so many Autopilots already that they might be able to look in their books and say, hey, you know, we already had somebody that did this. Simrad is completely right, and this is what we recommend doing, and getting this, this, and that accessory or whatever. So they're really going to be able to help you out. It's really crucial to buy from a dealer. That way you can make sure that you're getting the warranty on it as well, and you have the option for the extended warranty, and just do it, and it'll make everything so much more simpler. So with that being said, thanks for watching this video, guys. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button on this video, and hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss a future video. Thanks for watching, and until next time.